some conversation about.
We're live.
Shit.
All right, here we are. This is Coffin Cast number 6. The goal tonight is to talk about the Roman Empire, clear up some misconceptions. I've got Marty with me and Tim, also known as Ademotivator Opinion, with me. Thank you for joining me, guys.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Okay, so let's start off a conversation by saying I know very little about the Roman Empire, so I hope to learn something tonight.
Oh, well, I mean, I personally have my own bias and believe it should be the entire history of Rome should be required reading for anybody who lives in a Western country. It is the building block of the whole thing.
Okay. What about the Greeks, man? The Greeks get some love.
Oh yeah, sure. The Greeks can get the love, but typically their love is in the man-boy form. A shot at the Greeks.
Damn.
But what was what was the? Is this like kind of like that thing where people compare current day to Rome? Because that happens a lot. I see it on Twitter.
Yeah. I see that a lot too, and I am really getting sick and tired of cleaning up people's misinformed tweets because misinformation about Rome triggers me more than just about anything else. I mean, I've been studying the thing since I was a teenager. I mean, it's just amazing.
What are some of the misconceptions that you see?
Well, first of all, now, of course, most people with a passing knowledge of Rome know that it wasn't always an empire. It was a republic, and before that, it was a kingdom.
Right.
So it wasn't always this totalitarian autocracy, which is a hard thing to say if you have a stutter. Even in the beginning of the empire, guys like Augustus and Tiberius, they weren't true autocrats. Augustus itself is an honorary title. It means venerated one. You embodied what most represented the Roman people, and part of that was submission to tradition and the authority of the Senate. And he did have a lot of power. True, he was a monarch. However, he still did his best to appease the Senate and appease what few rivals he had. Not that he had to, but more as honoring the tradition of service to the state rather than the state being in service of him.
Yeah, because I mean, like the one that I can think of is Sargon Akkad being like, Trump is a Gracchus, which I always found is kind of funny.
You could call Trump a Gracchus in terms of he is a popular candidate, in terms of he represents the plebeians. I mean, yes, he's a rich businessman, of course, but of course so were the Gracchi. But he didn't come from that senatorial rank. He didn't come from that, established government system. He is a government outsider. In that regards, he is a lot like a Gracchi. However, I see him more. He doesn't have the full support of the plebeians as the Gracchi brothers did, or even the support that their father had, Gaius the Elder. Wait, sorry, there are so many Gaiuses and so many Tiberiuses, I get them confused. One of them was Gaius, one of them was Tiberius, but names are irrelevant at this point. But you can see him as kind of a Gracchus, but he doesn't. He isn't a tribune of the plebeians. He isn't. He is the consul of America. So it's not like. It's not a perfect parallel.
Yeah, but I mean, would they like real reformers? Like they wanted to change the way the Senate operated to be more representative of the people, and
yes, yes. Even back in that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't have very much faith that Trump's going to do that, but some people think he is, and so I think it's an off analogy in the sense that I don't believe Trump is that kind of reformer. But if you think he is, then I guess he's similar.
Well, he's already
the pop rules. Like, I mean, he's definitely going to change some stuff up. I can guarantee you that.
Hmm. Yeah, but well, it still sort of remains to be seen. I guess I just don't have very much faith in the guy, but I know that like Marty is a Trump supporter, so
No, what gave you that idea? No.
that picture.
Well, no,
Maybe.
I was speaking
Make
ironically.
America. Oh, okay. Yeah.
But he's already done, or well, I mean, of course he hasn't already done, but he's leading things along the way of the two main reasons I voted for him: the protectionist economics and the immigration control. He's already come down strong on the ideas of immigration reform, and of course he's already proposed at least half a dozen plans for protectionist economics in terms of keeping jobs and bringing jobs back to Americans, which was the two things I voted for him for. So he could pretty much like set the White House on fire at this point, and just as long as he does those two things, I'll be happy.
But
I'm sorry.
I want to go ahead and point out something that I disagree with that Trump has done, and I've been, I think everybody knows, a Trump supporter up until this point, but and probably continuing on. But there's one thing that concerns me: the head of the EPA. He appointed the head of the EPA, and that guy doesn't believe in climate change. The guy he appointed. So to me, that sounds like he's trying to just make the EPA useless, like for the next 4 years, maybe even 8.
Well, as far as the EPA goes, we're already starting down a path of cleaner energy. I mean, we are getting more nuclear, which is fantastic. I think nuclear power is the greatest thing ever. I think it's the future of power, but that may be my own biases. There are
well, that's a topic for a whole nother stream, because I could on that.
Yeah, but the idea is, you know, the EPA regulations and the way the EPA has been going since Nixon started it back in the 70s, it's probably going to continue going the same way. We may see some budget cuts. We may see maybe not such an emphasis on the way it was during the Obama years, but I don't think it's going to have a drastic impact. And if it does, you know, if the policy becomes set all the natural gas on fire, all right, I'll be bitching. But I don't think it's going to get that far.
Right. I think, like, you know, I'm a lefty, so I mean, besides just hating his policies, I also am alarmed by the fact that he's bringing in so many like lobbyists and bankers, like Goldman Sachs people, and like, there's no swamp draining going on. I like that whole thing. To me, was just a talking point. So if the Gracchus brothers or the Gracchi, whatever the fuck you want to, you know, I don't know shit about Rome, whatever. If they were reformers in that sense, I don't see any evidence that Trump is going to be a reformer in the drain the swamp sense of it.
I guess it actually depends on what your definition of draining the swamp is, because if your definition is getting out all of the insiders, as far as government, as far as like you know, government insiders, people who are politicians, he's not really doing that. He's bringing in people who are capitalists, who own companies, who are very outsiders.
Isn't it going to lead to corruption, and that big business and corporations and banks and etc. are just going to have even more influence in Washington, which is already kind of a pool of corruption in that sense? So it's like, I mean, it's like draining the swamp just to put other toxic liquids in it, you know, just replacing one swamp with another swamp, isn't it?
Well, I think we need a correction. It might be an overcorrection, but I think we need a correction in course.
I've always been, with the exception of a period in my late teens, I've always been a staunch capitalist. And the idea of that, of getting businessmen in who are going to run the country like a business, that makes me happy. Throw in the protectionist economics, and I think we're going to do well economically. Ethically, we'll have to see.
What about environmentally, though? What about environmentally?
But also,
sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, but also, aren't you concerned about these businessmen influencing the government, like, you know, getting amendments to all kinds of bills so that they can shirk regulations and, you know, have abusive practices? Are you concerned about that?
I'm always concerned about that. It doesn't matter if it's a Goldman Sachs guy or, you know, Farmer Brown. Government corruption's at the forefront of my brain. I'm libertarian, right? I hate the idea of government. I understand its necessity, but I still am very contrary to the ideas of government.
Right.
But isn't that a danger of having business people in the government? Is that they start influencing?
It's a danger of
government?
having people in the government.
Right. Yeah, no, but like, what are their motivations? Like, are they there to really clean up Washington, or are they there to just, you know, get something free for themselves?
I prefer to have the punishment come after the crime. So, I mean, I am not going to. I'm never going to trust any politician. I voted for Trump because he wasn't a politician. However, now he is. So, of course, I'm not going to trust him. I'm not going to trust anybody. However, the sheer fact that they haven't done anything wrong yet, I'm not going to pass any judgment. That's not my place. When they start, if they start, you will hear me yell. I'm anti-government guy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's yeah. There was just like,
it is fair to try and look ahead. It is fair to try and see where a certain direction is going, because if you don't do that, then you can't correct it before it's too late.
Well,
I'm very cynical about it, to be honest. But I mean, when Obama came in, I was quite hopeful. But then after like a year of him just dithering, I was like, fuck, this guy's not that strong. So I was disappointed. But I'm going into this one with very little faith. I'm like, I think it's going to be bad, but you know, it's just my opinion.
Well, and back to what you were saying earlier about Trump being a reformer in the parallels of Gracchus. The Gracchi weren't drain the swamp guys. Hilariously enough, the Gracchi were, you could call them socialists in the terms of they wanted to redistribute wealth and land amongst the plebeians. That was their main form of reforming. The typically conquered lands would go to the proconsul, the consuls, and the various administrators and senators. The Gracchi wanted to take that and give it directly to the people, and that's where they got most of their support. So in terms of that, where Trump wants to give control back to private citizens, give small businesses more chances, he is a reformer in that regard. So another parallel to the Gracchi.
Depends if the chances are actually own a small business or actually big business. Or maybe it's more of a mixed bag. I don't know.
Well, even though she is a wrestling promoter, I am quite happy that he appointed Linda McMahon as his small business person, because even though it is currently a major multinational, multi-billion-dollar corporation, the WWF started as a small family-run promotion out of New York and parts of the Northeast, and they grew it to where it is today. So her and her husband obviously know how to grow a small business. So I am very happy about that.
But wouldn't the question be, is she out of touch, or can she still relate to that? You know,
her business is knowing. Her business is knowing her audience. So I think she's not out of touch with the pulse. She's not.
I mean, out of touch with small business. Like, is she more like mentally aligned now with larger corporations and businesses, or can she still relate to? And obviously that would be some mind reading, but I'd be curious about that, like interactions. Like, is she actually supporting smaller businesses now?
Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know how involved she is with the lower tier of the WWE, but they do promote smaller companies. Lucha Underground, several other small companies. They even have their own version of a small company called NXT. They do lots of regional promoting across the country. I don't know how involved she is in that, but they do like the smaller guys, mainly as a minor leagues to acquire talent, but still, I mean, they still do lots of promoting on the small scale. Excuse me.
I think there's always a risk of getting out of touch when you become successful. Like, you can forget about the little people, you know. But I don't really know enough about her as a person, so I'd have to look into it.
But what didn't make sense to me was his pick for head of housing which was fucking Ben Carson. Like, wouldn't he be better as like a or you know, something like that?
He should be head of grain storage or whatever. Remember that, the pyramid thing?
It doesn't make sense. That's all I'm saying. That pick does not make sense to me.
Is Chris Christie in there, or he's not in there now?
I haven't heard anything about Chris Christie since the end of November.
Right. He was gonna be, but I think maybe he got shafted or something because of the whole Bridgegate thing. They were like, we can't deal with your scandal-ridden ass, so fuck you.
Yeah, I used to live in New York, and even across the border in New York, people knew who Chris Christie was, and really just kind of wanted to like slap the shit out of him.
I think it's so funny that he fell out of favor when he hugged Obama. I don't know why that's so funny. He's like, yeah, my state's suffering, so I'm going to put aside party loyalty and I'm going to go hang out with Obama. And everyone was like, traitor! Oh, I used to like you. You know?
Yeah,
it's
that
so
whole
funny
partisan.
how shallow it is.
Yeah, partisan politics is pretty brutal in America. We actually we used to have brawls in the Senate House until as late as the early 1900s. I mean, and guys would actually like duck out of of bathroom windows during important votes as to delay certain legislature. It's really funny how Wild West our government was up until the early 1900s, until around World War I.
Yeah, I just think it's so funny that like a lot of people said that was when his opportunity to be like at the forefront of the GOP just crumbled when he hugged Obama. It's like, how could you do this? But then again, they're supposed to be all like small government, I guess. So but you also can't be above taking aid when your, state is wallowing in a hurricane. So I mean, what are you supposed to do? I think the problem was he was too nice. He was supposed to spit in his face while taking the money.
A fair point. Which
I mean, what's happening?
Oh, he was talking about how the GOP felt betrayed by Christie when he went to Obama, which is
was like, "You're a great dude," and then he took the money to help his state, which I thought was like him putting aside his partisan politics, and to me that made him look good, but to the GOP, it made him look like this is the worst thing since I don't know, something bad.
Well, I mean, I don't think we should be promoting that kind of division.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still a big fan of helicopter rides for leftists, so sorry, a bad Pinochet joke.
But isn't that's a tricky thing about right-wing politics or right-wing policies, is if your state does get hit by a hurricane, you do want the federal government to step in and help you out because it's a disaster.
Well, no, you also have to keep in mind that most right-leaning states, even some currently blue states that used to be red, have amendments in their state constitutions that require a balanced budget, so that in the event of a disaster, they can have the funds on their own to go and fix things. I live in Illinois, and used to be just about the biggest red state there was. They had Lincoln, and still in our Constitution to this day, there is an amendment for a balanced budget.
But how do you feel about the federal government stepping in to help a red state, which is like, we don't want any federal help, and then a disaster happens, and then they want federal help? Like, is the federal government supposed to tell them to stuff off or what?
Well, in that lifeboat situation, one has to, if the Titanic is sinking, I don't care how well designed you think it is, you're getting on that lifeboat.
So their citizens pay taxes to the federal government. So I think they're entitled to relief from the federal government because they're forced to pay taxes.
Yeah, totally.
I'm not saying that any citizen doesn't have the right to aid from the federal government. I'm just saying, in my ideal society, they wouldn't be paying taxes to the federal government and wouldn't need the federal government. But as I alliterated earlier, if the Titanic is going down, it doesn't matter how well you think it's designed, you're going to get on that lifeboat.
Right.
Well, but that means that then those right-wing states are supposed to take the money, but they're meant to just politically, they're supposed to do it grudgingly, like we don't really want this money, and we're not, you know, in order to not look terrible to their other right-wing buddies.
Fuck politics. Just fuck. Because in a situation like that, you're talking about citizens who need help. You're talking about people. You're not talking about politics. You're talking about people in need of aid. It's
exactly. But yeah, that was the political thing, though. You know, Christie took the money, but he was too enthusiastic and he was too happy about it, so that hurt him politically. He was supposed to be like grudgingly take the money.
All I'm saying is I agree that that's fucking bullshit. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I've never been a fan of partisan politics. Not in the terms of. I do like the idea of parties competing against each other. I love that. In terms of if Party A says feed the puppies, Party B has to say gas the puppies. I've never been a big fan of that kind of partisanship.
You could
so
just half feed
absolutely
and
agree
half
with you.
gas them. So
Yeah, sure. Just
midpoint.
Just lower the population a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm saying is I hate when things like politics get in the way of people needing help. I hate that more than anything.
Well,
Well,
I
being
will
somebody-
say
Sorry.
for Trump, though, you know, he
Like in particular
doesn't
identity.
seem- like Trump doesn't seem to give a shit about the political implications of the things he says, which I think is a double-edged sword, because it's refreshing someone just say what the fuck they're thinking, but at the same time, it's a little frightening when he starts going on about nuclear weapons. You're like, what's going on now?
That's what we need. After this long politicking and all that other bullshit, we need someone who's going to come in and say what's on his mind, even if it's not even entirely correct. Because
coherent. I mean,
dangerous,
just
isn't it?
I'm really sick of the Broadway of politics. I really am.
I think there's a
It
dangerous
can be
underside to that, though. Yeah.
speaking your mind is always a dangerous thing. I mean, being a guy who will literally say anything that fits within my small box of ideas to prove a point on Twitter, I can tell you, speaking your mind is a very dangerous thing. But
You're not the president.
well, true, but that's the thing. I mean, whether it be the little guy or the big guy, speaking your mind has always been and will always be a very dangerous thing. But it's that speaking your mind that gets things done. At the end of the day, I mean, if you have to reserve yourself to please somebody, then something's not getting done, whether it be good or bad.
But you know what? I mean, like Hillary Clinton got in trouble for speaking her mind in one case when she said it's a basket of deplorables. And I thought that's not playing politics very well,
okay, no,
because you're supposed to pander to voters. You're not supposed to tell voters they're stupid. That's a bad idea.
Here's the thing, though. If it's in your mind that half of the fucking country is irredeemable, then maybe you shouldn't be the leader of that country. That's all that was.
But you see, if she'd never spoken her mind, she would have been in a much better situation if she just like not said that.
No, here's the thing. Because she spoke her mind, this is why we want politicians to speak their mind. Because she spoke her mind, we now know that we do not want her to be the leader of our country. Donald Trump
was bad for her personally. It was bad on a political level. It was bad for her to speak her mind.
Yeah, of course it was, but I don't give a shit how bad it was for her. It was good for us.
Right.
Yeah. A few months ago, there was a hashtag, I stand with hate speech. And I, of course, joined in the I stand with hate speech hashtag. And my reasoning behind that is very simple. How do you know who the bad guy is if you don't let them speak? Who made the best case against Scientology? Tom Cruise did. And that was my whole point. I mean, anybody with that ability to speak your mind and the will to speak your mind, you will learn who a person is, and you will learn what they are and are not capable of, and you can get a good insight as to whether or not what they're saying is beneficial or detrimental.
I think that argument often comes down to the place in which the person is speaking, like on a college campus or in a public space or on YouTube or like or on Facebook. There's like many different contexts and that was about universities, wasn't it? Was it?
I'm sorry, you went robot for a second on my end. I completely missed the second half of that.
Oh, was the I Stand With Free Speech thing, was that about on universities? Because it's like, different spheres and contexts in which you can speak. You could do it in a public square, you could do it at a campus, you could do it on YouTube, or you could do it as part of in your official capacity, as part of your job.
Well, words. It just shows who you are. That's all it is.
Yeah, but I mean, like if you're at working at Walmart and you just scream like, "I hate the Jews," you're gonna get fired.
You've never been to a Walmart, have you? You will get promoted to CEO.
If you're the checkout guy,
your company now.
But it's like your speech is not always protected. Like in that context, you can't keep your job and speak your mind. It's like not compatible.
Yeah, and I've never been a big fan of that. I mean, I recently. Sorry, go ahead.
Hold on. You can't conflate freedom of speech at the workplace with freedom of speech on the street corner. Okay.
No, I wasn't conflating it. I was just saying that there are different contexts. Like I was just pointing that out. So when we say I stand with hate speech, it's like where? What's it about?
Well, there are several little addendums to that. Like if you have now, if you're at work, if you're in the checkout lane at Walmart and you scream, "I hate the Jews," okay, fine, bye. That's disrupting the workplace. People aren't going to want to use your aisle, so therefore you're going to throw a whole bunch of customers on your fellow cashiers. So in that situation, all right, yeah, you should get fired. However, if you're outside of Walmart on your own time, downtown, and you're attending a neo-Nazi rally, and someone you work with sees you, tells your boss, and you go into work and you're fired, a different series of events there.
But yeah, I mean, but that's like, I am against public shaming, and I consistently have been, because I think you should be allowed to keep your work separate from what you do in your private time, basically, so long as you're not breaking the law or anything.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it is tricky.
So if I'm a customer, I mean, I would never do this, but I'm a customer at Walmart, and I go in there and I say, I see a black person, and I say, "Hey, don't you belong on the fucking plantation?" You know, and it says something like that. Well, they have the right to kick me off their property, but I should not be able to go to jail for using hate speech. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, Brad, you might want to put the pot down, because I don't think either of us were making that point.
But we'd draw the line at threats, right? Like, hey, I'm gonna smash your face in or some shit.
Yeah, I would definitely draw the line at threats.
I wouldn't draw the line at threats. Now, threats are it's a razor thin line between oh God, I can't stand this guy, I just want to strangle him, or oh man, I want to strangle him one day, versus oh man, I hate this guy, I'm going to strangle him one day. I mean, how do you know what I mean?
Are you talking directly to the guy, or are you just mumbling to yourself, or someone hears you or something?
Well, let's say I'm sitting down and talking with, I don't know, Joe Blow. Joe Blow's right here, and he says something about my niece being hot. And I said, yeah, exactly. And I say, I'm going to strangle the shit out of you. I'm not like actually going to strangle the shit out of him, but I am genuinely really upset at him and mad enough to say that sentence. However, it's not something I'm actually going to do. So, I mean, I'm sure everybody sitting in this hangout, everybody watching at home, everybody has gotten to a point in their life where they said, I'm going to kill this guy. And you can't decide whether or not this is something someone's actually going to do or not.
There's some context to that, because there was an initial, there was something that set it off. It wasn't just sort of out of the blue. So you could at the very least say, like, hey, this guy was like making weird come-ons towards my daughter or whoever it was. So some context there. It wasn't just out of the blue. But I mean, if you just threaten someone out of the blue, then you wouldn't have any kind of precedent as to why you said that. I think that would be dodgier.
Well, I mean, even still, I mean, there's even less reason to believe I'm going to strangle somebody if I just out of the blue say I'm going to strangle the shit out of you. It could be a joke. I mean, you know...
That's a very strange thing to say to someone. I mean,
well,
it makes me think a little bit of the humongous guy. But that wasn't a threat. That was just a guy being stupid.
Yeah, but over the summer, well, actually, during spring, there was that controversy over the X-Men Apocalypse poster, where Rose McGowan lost her shit because Apocalypse was strangling Mystique on the poster. And I even cracked some jokes at my girlfriend. I'm all like, "Oh, I'm going to strangle the shit out of you," just to piss off Rose McGowan. Again, it's that's not
you
something.
Trust her, and she trusts you, and in that context, it's like you have a familiarity. Unless, like, she could, what if she'd taken it seriously and then tried to go to the authorities? Like, maybe have a problem, but you don't have that kind of relationship that you can joke around. It's all right.
Exactly,
like
but I mean,
a random person, they might not know that it's kidding.
Yeah, but again, let's say my girlfriend was having a bad day that day and decided, you know what, fuck this guy, I'm going to go report him for this, and goes and shows, you know, the police the DMs where I said that. I didn't mean it. I obviously wouldn't strangle my girlfriend. However, if in the context of threats being a punishable offense, I'm going away.
Right. Well, I mean, but at this, I guess you don't want to not take some threats seriously. And
well, it's okay to investigate, right?
Right. I mean, I guess it would be okay to investigate. I hope.
Well, yeah, but how do you investigate speech? I mean, that conversation literally went, "I'm going to strangle you just to piss off Rose McGowan." I mean, the only thing of relevance to investigate in that situation is that sentence, "I'm going to strangle you just to piss off Rose McGowan."
Well, it does show you have to be careful who you say things to sometimes, because if you talk to someone who is willing to take some kind of joke really seriously, that could be a big problem for you.
Yeah, it could be, which is why I'm on the side of threats not being punishable. I mean, it's all contextual, and investigations.
Credible. What about a credible threat?
Define credible threat.
Like somebody associated with some kind of terror group. I mean, you definitely want to investigate that, right? Like, I'm going to go shoot up something.
Well, I mean, pre-existing. I mean, of course, in areas where there are pre-existing offenses, like somebody affiliated with ISIS says, "I'm going to go blow up, I don't know, the White House." Well,
how about even like a gang or something? Someone associated with a gang makes a threat.
Somebody associated with a gang that has a pre-existing history of shooting things up. Yeah, again, yeah.
Or even just beating people up, even, like, I'm going to beat the shit out of you or something.
Yeah, but I mean, again, there is history there. There is a pre-existing crime that would lead one to believe that this is definitely credible.
Yeah.
Again, as I said at the as I said at the beginning of this conversation, that whole threats thing is a razor-thin line.
I think maybe me and Brad kind of agree, sort of, that you should be able to investigate things, but you have to take it on a case-by-case basis, I suppose. I guess.
I mean, I think if you sit down with an investigator can definitely tell if there's contention in the relationship, and if there might be a point of concern about threats like that.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to throw out some anecdotal piece here.
That's
Back when
not
I was,
evidence.
it's not evidence. It's not evidence, but it's
I get
very
you.
but it's very contextual. I was hanging out with this girl, and she asked me to come over. And during the period from transit from my house to her house, she had been propositioned by a dude she wanted to hang out with more. So by the time I get there, he's there. They're hanging out, and I had to go away. Now, of course, my ride had just dropped me off and left, so I'm pretty much sitting on the couch while they're being involved, and I'm just waiting for my ride to come back and get me. And from the time it took my ride, from the time it took me to call my ride and sit and wait on the couch, I was watching 2.5 Men, I think it was, the first season of 2.5 Men.
Oh God.
Yeah, but I was sitting on the couch watching TV, and her parents called because, you know, we were 18 and, you know, still living with our parents. And she heard him in the background. So this whole story blew up around me breaking into the house. And the cops were called. The other dude comes running downstairs and said, "Dude, she's calling the cops. We got to go." I'm all like, "What?" So he fills me in on what happens as he's giving me a ride home. And the next thing I know, cops are beating on my door. And I spent the next 2 weeks in jail, initially charged with a Class X felony home invasion charge. And
This was in Illinois.
This was in Illinois. And
Illinois, fucking, they don't give a shit. If you're a man and you're involved in anything like that, you're done for. You're done for.
Exactly. So, and during the interrogation process, nothing I said mattered. Not a damn word I said mattered. No matter how consistently I told them what happened was, no matter how clear and concise I was, no matter how succinctly I sum up the whole evening. No, nothing I said mattered. I was guilty, and they were just trying to bully a confession out of me. Now, the reason I'm telling you this story is because when things are investigated like this, in a situation like that, you end up the investigators have all the power there, and if they've deemed you guilty, well, they've investigated you as being guilty. They've deemed me guilty that I said I was going to strangle my girlfriend just to piss off Rose McGowan. Well, bye. I'm now going to spend the next 8 months in jail.
Yeah.
Did you spend 8 months in jail for that?
No. Actually, the American legal system works because what happened was it started as it initially started as a Class X home invasion, which carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in federal prison. But as they investigated more and more, and as her story started to collapse and develop inconsistencies because she was lying her ass off, it was downgraded to a breaking and entering. It was downgraded to all the way down to a misdemeanor trespass, which carried a minimum sentence of like 30 days in jail. And I go to the arraignment, and the public defender says, "All right, they're offering you a deal of plead guilty and you can go home and forget about this." I pled not guilty. I don't care how good the deal was. I didn't do it. And
damn, see, I did the exact opposite when I was like that. I was like, fine, I'll plead guilty. Whatever.
No,
It fucked up my life, so you did the right thing. It fucked up my life, so you did the right thing.
Yeah, my ego wouldn't let me plead guilty to something I didn't do. Now, I've done a few illegal things in my life that I have pled guilty to, but not that because I didn't do it. And I go back for trial about maybe 2 months later. I didn't even make it into court.
Here's the thing. The public defender in my case actually sat down with me and said, "Listen, you might as well plead guilty because there's no way you're going to win this." And I was like, "But I didn't do it." And she's like, "It doesn't matter." I'm like, "Okay, then."
So
Yeah.
was this whole thing just your word against hers?
Yes, it was. However, her word involved things like me kicking in the door. Her word involved things like me stealing stuff, and there was obviously no corroborating evidence to any of that because I was just a guy who um, who got played by a chick who was playing two dudes.
I'll
So
just be like, what did you steal then? And if you stole it, I assume they'll be able to find whatever it was, so you can actually verify whether you actually stole anything. So that's a bit of a hard story to fake.
yeah, exactly. Well,
Threw some shit away and said you stole it.
yeah, well, the thing is she was 18 years old and stupid. But by simply saying that I kicked in the door, they can look and say that door's not kicked in. So yeah, I pled not guilty, didn't even make it into court, and the public defender came out and said, yeah, they threw it out. There's no evidence, there's nothing, go home.
Well, that's good. I mean, I think that one of the most important things of all of this is just the investigation. If it's a high quality, detailed investigation, hopefully they'll be able to find out the truth. Because I mean, people are always going to make allegations. It's really in the investigation phase where you find out that the allegations have any merit whatsoever. But I think they should readily, well, not readily, but they should, throw away anything that doesn't have corroborating evidence or doesn't hold up to scrutiny. Of course. I mean, I totally agree with that.
But of course, in situations where I tell my girlfriend I'm going to strangle the shit out of her just to piss off Rose McGowan, the only corroborating evidence is that message, and that message is plain as day. And if they decide me guilty, I'm guilty.
Feminism.
Yeah.
But actually, that story is the main reason why I don't like feminism. This past year, I was listening. Funny story. My entry into anti-feminism happened because of Thunderflight. I'm a giant nerd. I am probably one of the biggest nerds you'll ever meet in your life, just in case you can't tell from the fact that I'm obsessed with Rome. I went searching for science videos on YouTube. Just searching for random science stuff. I found some cool stuff, and then I found this one by this guy who had a gay little bunny as his avatar. I'm like, okay, so
bunnies are gay. I know that.
Well, he's a brilliant biochemist and physicist, and he has this cute little bunny. So,
what a gay man.
Yeah, exactly. But so I watch a few of his science vids. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. But then like the autoplay pops up, and the autoplay video was an Anita video, and I'm all like, the hell is this?
I'm so obsessed with Anita, though. Oh, Jesus.
Not so much anymore. The Anita thing has kind of died down, but
with Thunderfoot.
So what? Yeah. I mean, I think he made one video on her in the past like 4 months, and that was on her alleged tax dodging. But so
I'm just checking.
Yeah. So I watched the Anita video, and I watch a couple of more, and then it gets to Listen and Believe. I had already gone through a couple of other YouTubers at that point, and it gets to a Listen and Believe video to where feminists are blatantly saying if a woman says a man did this, then he did it and he needs to rot in jail. And I'm all like, fuck you. I would have spent 10 years of my life in prison for something I didn't do if it Listen and Believe.
Yeah. I hate that whole thing. It's like, because the Listen and Believe thing, when it was remember, you guys know who Tobuscus is?
I've heard the name.
He got accused of rape by some Tumblrina, and like his career was like pretty much destroyed because of just an accusation this chick made on Tumblr. She didn't go to the police. She didn't do anything like that, but his career was in effect ruined by her accusations. So the Listen and Believe. I mean, that's
but the thing about, like, people always ask me to defend Listen and Believe, whatever, but that's just some shit Anita Sarkeesian came up with. I don't really care about it. What I do actually think, though, is
I don't know who's asking you to defend it.
You know, because I'm in the whole like social justice realm, so everyone's always like, "Hey, so Anita said this," and was like, "I don't know, whatever." But what I actually think is like, the victim or the person claiming that this thing happened to them should be believed, but it depends by who. I think they should be believed by law enforcement in order for them to investigate it. They should assume that this did happen, even if it's like.
No,
I think they should.
Absolutely not. Or otherwise, they won't investigate and actually find evidence if they just believe the chick to begin with. Fuck
no,
that.
But I mean, if they don't believe that it happened, then why would they bother investigating? There'd be no point. Just be like,
they should come from well, the thing is innocent until proven guilty. I mean, that exists for a reason.
All right, but that's the court system. I'm talking about the investigation. The investigators should be like, you know, they're trying to find anything they can to show that this actually happened. You know,
did you just win something?
In terms of looking for evidence, but if they look for whatever they can to like see if it's true, and they're like, well, we can't say that it's true because we just can't find enough evidence, then I guess it's never going to go to court. So I'm just saying, like, the motivations, like people say like, oh, they should be neutral or whatever, but I think they should be actively trying to find as much information as they possibly can, and for that they need to be motivated to actually investigate.
Well, yeah, but we've seen
the courts. The courts is different. I'm not talking about that.
But we've seen that backfire. One of the reasons OJ got off was because the police force was dead convinced that he did it, and over the course of the investigation, botched things. In some cases, attempted to introduce false evidence. I mean, being dead set.
I'm assuming not that they're not corrupt. I mean, in that case, the cop who did it was corrupt as shit. So, yeah.
You just keep. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say it. I just find when people present a point, you're like, well, that's not what I'm talking about. Well, what are you talking about?
I'm just saying that they should be actually motivated to investigate it as much as they possibly can.
But that's not.
What's that?
There's a big difference between being motivated to investigate and believing. There's a huge difference there.
I just don't see how you can investigate something if you don't think it happened. There would be no point.
Well,
you'd just be like, why bother?
Well, there wouldn't be too much motivation to investigate if you thought it did happen. There'd be more motivation to simply get the guy convicted rather than to actually investigate.
Right. Exactly.
But are you talking about the investigators actually wanting this person to be convicted rather than just gather as much evidence as they possibly can?
Well, okay, so if you believe this motherfucker raped a girl, you'd want to see them convicted too. That's all I'm saying.
It does somewhat depend on the investigator, because, I mean, in my ideal situation, no matter what they thought about whether they did it or not, if they just didn't have enough evidence, they'd be like, well, we can't say that this actually happened. I think that would be ideal.
My buddy told me a story of how he was picked up. They believed he was some serial killer known as the Lackawanna Slasher, and they were all convinced that he was the one who was killing all these people, and the cops beat the crap out of him. This is the story he said. Whether or not it's true is up in the air, but I mean, there are accounts of pretty corrupt cops when they're convinced someone did something, and even if someone is, your own biases can get in the way regardless of if you're corrupt or not. I mean, I'm a pretty decent guy, but when I'm looking for something, I'll find it, even if it's there or not. That's just how it is.
Right.
But there's a difference between finding something that's actually there and putting something there and then saying you found it.
I don't think anyone's saying, "Oh, I'm gonna plant evidence and then he's gonna be put in jail." Oh my God.
Well, that's what Mark Furman did in the O.J. Simpson case, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it was a conscious decision. I think it was, well, here's more evidence that proves we're right. Here's more evidence that proves our beliefs. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, you could have a good point there. I think the main thing for me was just wanting the police to have the motivation to not half-ass the job. That's about it. But I also understand what you're saying, that yeah, there is police corruption, so that's another difficult aspect. Especially like, yeah, there are cops, for example, like Mark Furman, who was a racist dude, and I think partly hated OJ for his fame and being a prominent black man. So he wanted to like plant some evidence and shit. But it's difficult because I also know that there's a lot of cases where they just half-ass the investigation because they just can't be bothered because they're like, who really gives a shit, you know? So maybe there's a middle ground there. Yeah.
Well, you do have to consider that a lot of cops will, for instance, my case where, pardon my stutter, but my case where the cops were essentially just interrogating me to get a confession. They weren't trying to get the truth out of me. They weren't trying to get anything but a confession. They had already assumed me guilty, and nothing I said mattered. They weren't trying to get at the root of the story, what happened, what really went on. All that happened was they attempted to bully a confession out of me. And I think that's where guilty until proven innocent, even in the mind of law enforcement, will lead.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't agree that they should, like, when they're interrogating people, that they should be trying to, like, bully confessions and shit. I definitely don't agree with that.
Well, that's just what happens when you assume someone's guilty. I mean,
Right.
But in terms of just like when you're out in the field looking for the evidence, I think it's best to assume that you are actually looking for something that exists, you know. But you also have to be willing to say, like, it doesn't exist and we couldn't find it. You know, you can't invent the evidence, obviously. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
sorry, just responding to something in the chat.
So you guys alive? What the fuck?
Brad's off smoking pot.
He is. What? Why is he smoking pot in the middle of a conversation? Did he say that?
Well, no, it's just it. I've been watching Brad since Roaming Millennial, actually, and he is a very big pothead. And being a former pothead myself, I can tell you that it doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be performing open heart surgery, and if you feel like taking a puff, you're taking a puff.
Well, that's not what I was doing. I was actually finding my vape juice so I could refill my vape.
I think the wider point that I'm making there is, like, for example, when you have rape allegation cases, in order to investigate that, you can't just, like, dismiss this person's concerns as being fabricated. If you're law enforcement, can you? Like, so what do you think the best mindset is to deal with that? That's
skeptical from all sides.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely skeptical, because again, assuming he's innocent is, I don't need to look around. Assuming he's guilty, I'm going to find a way to prove he's guilty. I mean, both of those are inherently wrong, because you're going to put your own biases into any given situation. But looking at it saying, all right, what does this room tell me, is a completely different approach than they did it or they didn't do it.
Because I do think it's pretty harmful when the investigators lean towards, like, oh, it's just a bunch of bullshit or whatever. And I feel like that does happen quite a lot. Like, I've read a few books about it, and there's numerous examples of law enforcement just not really taking the case that seriously, you know?
And numerous examples of them taking it too seriously.
Yeah.
I mean,
totally.
It's their job. It's their job to take things seriously, but they're going to take it seriously, not believe the victim. I just really hate when I hear listen and believe. We're not expecting a belief. We're expecting a skeptical look and an investigation. That's it.
Well, it's certainly there are many cases in which they don't have enough evidence to go to trial. And the question for me there is, in those cases, has the evidence always been gathered in using best practices or, with the best effort to collect the best evidence, or if they just done a shitty job and therefore thrown it out? And that's tricky to know because that's a very complicated subject. Probably have to do a lot more reading on that. But I think there is some concern that the investigation was not high quality enough, so they can't take it to trial, because if they actually collect valid evidence, then it should go to trial and it should have a fair hearing, but if they just half-ass it, then yeah,
I don't know. I think we're just chasing our own tails with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So 2016 is coming to an end. Do you think 2017 is going to be any better, guys?
I don't think it's going to be any worse.
But it's just a huge massacre, so it's still 2016, right? It was 2016 Turkey when that massacre happened.
No, that was 2017.
Ah, fuck. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Is it?
So
It was Turkey New Year. 35 dead seconds into the Turkey New Year.
So it was after the New Year that happened. Well, 2017 is going to suck.
There were terrorist attacks last year. There will be terror attacks next year.
But they have to do it seconds after the New Year. Can't they just wait? Fucking goddamn.
I know, right? Watch the fireworks, have a cup of tea, commence the slaughter after everyone's done partying.
God. They're like, so they think 2017 will be better. Ha 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 ha. We will show them. Like, oh,
that's off, Tim. That's awfully racist of you. How dare you assume they were Arabic?
Sorry.
Fucking racist.
I mean, I was going to try to do Irish. But... So they thought the New Year would be better.
That's racist, motherfucker.
How do I not be racist? This sucks.
Just use your own accent.
True. And New Zealander, I couldn't picture that.
Just
hey guys, this is for the Islamic State.
No. It has nothing to do with the Islamic State. It's because the waves weren't tasty enough.
Oh god.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's big in New Zealand other than driving on the left. So
yeah, kiwi fruit or some shit. Right, yeah, Marty, if we got to talk about our beef.
Uh-oh. Should I play the rest?
Our beef. All right, yeah. Damn. We started talking about Rome, so now I'm all relaxed. I can't go all alpha and confrontational.
Oh, that's true, yeah. Well, my perception of that is that we were kind of like friendly, talking on Twitter and stuff. Then Baring lost his channel due to his stealing artwork, and I made fun of him. And then after that point, you didn't like him anymore.
Well, to be fair, that is an accurate portrayal. Freudian slip. That is an accurate portrayal. Yeah. Top 10 anime portrayals. Yeah. Insert meme here. But that is an accurate portrayal of the first, I don't know, hour and a half. But then when you got the copyright strike on the thumbnail and we're crying about that, all I could see was a hypocrite after that. And
I mean, I wasn't crying about it. I was just pointing it out. Like, oh, this seems a little bit, how people complaining about this copyright shit and then like trying to get me thumbnail strikes on just completely random irrelevant videos. So it's just me pointing it out. I mean, I guess like whining in the sense that like, I don't know what you're trying to achieve here after all this complaining about Baring. Like, it's just like, I just said, is this going to be like a big revenge war? Even though I had nothing to do with his original copyright thing. I just had nothing to do with it. So I was like, why am I getting vengeance on me? I didn't do anything.
And then it got amped up to 11. Sorry, I had to mute for a cough. I'm a smoker. But then it got amped up to 11 after the doxing or not doxing event, to where there was circumstantial evidence placed on the table that people who will remain nameless because it's not irrelevant, or I mean, it's not relevant at this point. But there was circumstantial evidence placed on the table that people had doxed Bering, and you, Chrisiosity, Porn Stash, we're all saying that's just circumstantial. That has no actual weight. While in the very next breath saying, look at all the circumstantial evidence that Bering is a bully. And again, it was just more and more hypocrisy. And I if there's one thing I hate, it's hypocrisy. I hate it.
I don't feel like those are the same things, because with Bering's bullying or whatever, you can just look at it. It's just right there. It's just
and you can just look at those messages and say it's right there.
Oh yeah, but I said that shit, so I know what I meant, because that was my words that came from my brain. So when people were like interpreting the shit I was saying in all these crazy ways, I was like, I know for a fact I didn't mean any of that shit. So I don't like, this is ridiculous. Just people making crap up. But you can go and look at the effects of Bering's channel. It's just right there. You just go look at it. So I don't see how that's similar.
Well, no, he even played that game where he had a fancy anti-bullying tile where he played Van Halen, and I mean he has never openly advocated for it. He's never asked for it. I mean, sure, a couple of times on Twitter he said, "Look at this asshole," but I mean, as far as mass bullying on YouTube, it's still just circumstantial. I don't see anything concrete.
It's not his responsibility to control his audience. I tell you time and time again, Tim, it's not his responsibility.
I don't need, people always say control, and I never said control. Like, try to find me saying control. I always use like influence, basically.
And he did have that thing with the Van Halen, the anti-bullying tile. I mean, anybody in my group of friends, I'm not saying the sphere of the contrarian community, as I call it, because we're only really bound by our love of arguing with people. In my sphere of friends, we seek out to talk, to argue, to debate, but as far as the actual bullying goes, I don't like the 10 to 20,000 people who follow Bering who actually go to the channel and say, kill yourself, and oh, you're useless, and I hate you, and all this stuff. I don't know anybody who actually likes those guys.
Right.
And Bering is definitely not one of them.
I've never seen Bering retweet a hate comment unless it was from an SJW. I've never seen Bering actually encourage this behavior whatsoever. So I can't see where you're coming from when you're saying that he has some kind of influence on causing this bullying and therefore the shutdown and silencing of channels. It's ridiculous, in my opinion. I mean,
I do feel like this is kind of old ground. Like, I've been over this 10 times.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing over and over again. I've had this conversation at least 10 times. And
I think it's like, we have a different way of seeing the world, and there's certain conversations that you have that no matter how much you make your point or you have the conversation, or you go back and forth, the other person's mind is simply never going to change. So eventually it's just like there's no point to the conversation, because we just see things differently. If I can see how he says this stupid, arrogant, retard, feminist, blah, 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 thinks you're stupid, and it's got a thumbnail of them looking dumb, and then it's got a link to the video, and then people go there and dogpile, and I think that's contributing to bullying. And then you see that and say that's just, he's not controlling anyone, they're doing whatever they want, and that's just got nothing to do with Bering, blah, blah, blah. Then we're just not going to agree. It's literally just we've got different opinions. How are we supposed to reconcile it? We don't see it the same way.
I mean, and also, I mean, what is bullying? I mean, to be fair, I remember having a conversation with Cognitive Thought, Omegon, Irate Bear.
Fix those names up.
weird fish face thing, eh?
He's Cthulhu-kin. Respect
Yeah,
his
that's what it is.
pronouns. But
It's a bit long there. Cthulhu can.
yeah, which is why he goes by Omega. But and I'm not just name dropping. I'm more than just famous friends, I hope. But we were all having a conversation, and each one of them can remember their first hate comment. It was something they remembered fondly, they cherished. I think even Cognitive Thought could like recite his first hate comment. I mean, you know, one man's bullying is another man's "I've made it, fam." You know.
Yep, exactly. I revel in them. The first comment I got, I just remember sitting back and going, "Yay!"
I mean, my entire thing is a personal conduct thing. Like, I'm allowed to judge and be annoying if I think your conduct is shit, and then you can just tell me to fuck off. And it's freedom of speech. That's the way I see it. So people find me annoying and they don't like me, or whatever. Like, fine, that's life. Sometimes people don't like you. It's like, but I'm still free to speak my mind and say I think what he does on his channel is, you know, kind of harmful to a bunch of people. But whatever. Other people are free to not like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely true. I mean, being a member of the libertarian right, I am absolutely pro whatever opinion you may have, just as long as your opinion doesn't interfere with the rights of others. But again, as per dogpiling, again, one person's dogpile is another person's, you know, fight against the Agent Smiths. I remember... And I have never, ever achieved a high this great on Twitter since, but I was on Twitter for probably about maybe a month and a half. And I find Clementine Ford. And I tweeted one tweet at her. I said, "I thought you were a troll account, but apparently you're for real." And then she quoted it, said something snarky, and blocked me. But after she did those two things, at least 50 people just started just rapid firing, just tweets, just calling me names and bringing up inconsequential.
She's a troll, isn't she? Is she a troll? I mean, I actually am not that sure myself.
But hold on, I want to point out, I bet you had a blast. Retweet.
Oh God, I haven't gotten that high. I mean, I haven't. Yes. Oh yeah. God, I mean,
fucking awesome.
Yeah, I felt so. I mean, like, just shooting them down one after another. Boom, you're wrong, and here's why. Boom, you're wrong, and here's why. Just one after another. I mean, it was such a high.
Those people are idiots, but you did go to her, right? Like, you went. So I have always been of the opinion that if somebody, you know, attacks you, like, you know, so long as you don't do something like, you know, despicable or something, of course you can respond. I mean. So when I like go after Bearing, he can like, I don't give a shit if he responds or says anything. The thing that really annoys me is just sniping at random people. Just like I'm browsing around YouTube, I'm like, this person in this video seems stupid, and then I go out of my way to make a video being like, retard says dumb shit or whatever. I think that's kind of sleazy, you know. I feel like you should at least contact the person and be like, hey, I'm going to cover your video about, you know, because I didn't really agree with it or some shit.
Come on.
Do you really think
he snipes people?
Well, do you really think they're going to give him permission?
But that's the thing. He doesn't really care about the effects that he has on anybody. So he's just like, pick some random video and just
what effects? He's not physically hurting anybody. He's not, you know, releasing all their private information and saying, hey, check out all the crappy shit they've done. No, all he's doing is covering their videos that they put out there for the world to see. That's all it is.
A sniper, exactly. He is. He's a sniper. That's very true.
Give me a guy.
He is a fucking sniper. He just picks some random shit.
Well, okay. I think your sniper analogy works quite well. However, it breaks down when you say random. He seeks very specific arguments. He seeks very flawed, typically SJW formed arguments, and he does, in fact snipe them, much like a sniper in a combat situation. He points them out. He picks them off. And by them, I mean they're bad arguments, or they're flawed arguments, or they're authoritarian arguments.
Or they look retarded, or that they're autistic. Or... No, he doesn't do the autistic thing really. He does retard a lot. Like,
well,
you're a
yeah, but
retard,
I mean,
you're...
yeah, but I mean, at this point, and I mean, the three of us are pretty ingrained in the internet. I don't think I've gone a day without seeing either of you on Twitter or YouTube. So
Fighting someone.
Yeah, exactly. So being as ingrained in the internet as we are, who here really uses the word retard to describe someone who's like actually disabled? At this point in our life, a retard is just stupid person, or exceptionally stupid people.
Right.
I avoid it because I'm an SU. But no, I just see it as pointless. Like, everyone's always throwing like autistic, retard, blah blah blah. Like, it's not any like sort of desire to police language. It's just that I don't see the point in throwing that shit in for like no reason. So I do say like idiot and moron and stuff, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, to us, retard is a synonym for idiot and moron. It's used interchangeably.
Hey, moron!
Fucking moron!
Oh god, Undoomed is annoying, man.
When he's not doing the Undoomed videos, like, I stayed up chatting with him till like 2 a.m. one night. I mean, just the nicest fucking guy you'll ever meet in your life. I mean, had there been some beer in front of us, I think we would have gotten matching tattoos. Or that's just some fanboy fantasy of mine.
But does he never feel like personally bad about constantly shivving feminists, or he just like thinks it's funny, or what?
I see a little bit of a kindred spirit in Undoomed. Of course, this may be just another fanboy fantasy, but that love of arguing, that love of pointing out bad arguments, that love of engaging in rigorous arguing, that heuristic personality, it's a part of who we are. I mean, we can't not argue. It's just how it is. It's just who we are.
Yeah.
Right.
Back in the days of Aristotle, they called us critical thinkers.
I did watch a video by him though, and it was just like him insulting this person as much as he possibly could, and I was kind of confused as to like what the actual point was, rather than I want to destroy this person for being a feminist, so I'm just going to shit on them as much as I can.
Which video was that? I've seen them all.
I'd have to go look it up.
Yes, please.
Well, the first line of it, well, she was like, "Oh, I'm a feminist," and he's like, "So you're a fucking moron. Well, this will make my job. This will make my job easier then."
Because that automatically, if you're a feminist, you're a fucking moron. It's already there. It's already established. Now he knew he was fighting from the upper ground. That's all.
I know, but it's like it didn't speak well for the rest of the video. Like, gonna be real nuanced arguments and shit, you know. Basically, you're a fucking idiot.
Whoever said that Undoomed was going to be nuanced? I don't think that was in the byline.
Too much.
Yeah. Never promised that. I didn't see any of that. He's here to have a laugh, like Bering's here to have a laugh. I'm here to have
a weird way to have a laugh. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure Bering can. I mean, Undoomed can take it. I should make a parody video response to Undoomed. Oh, look at you, coward. Hiding behind your little picture. What a pussy. You're a real man. Show your face.
Oh, that anonymous coward thing. I love that anonymous coward thing. I love the anonymous coward thing so much I put it in my Twitter bio. I am an anonymous coward in my Twitter bio.
Oh, I don't care. It would just be a video, like a 20-minute video of me shitting on Undoomed relentlessly.
I'm sure he would love it. It'd probably be fun for him to respond to your response. I mean,
yeah, I was just about to say, I think he would have a blast watching it and laugh his ass off.
I think it would be Undoomed Inception at a certain point.
Unception.
So, Tim, one of my viewers here wants to know what you think of queer kid stuff. Do you think that's good or bad for kids?
What does it mean? Queer kid stuff.
You haven't heard of queer kid stuff?
I may have seen someone talking about it and not paid attention because I do that a lot.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna play a video. Hold on a sec.
I'm gonna go take a piss while you're doing this.
I heard of this thing.
Yeah, I'll play a video. Check this out. Hold on.
Is this it? What does gay mean?
Yeah, hold on.
What is homophobia?
Well, as far as defining certain aspects of the LGBT circle, that's fine. I mean, yes, kids, these things exist. Kids should be educated on these things. Our problem comes from, advocating for 6-year-old transsexuals. It's a 6-year-old wearing a dress. No.
I also,
Well, that's not transsexual, is it? That's transvestite.
Or it could just be a 7-year-old boy who, really likes Princess Peach from Mario. I mean, there's any number of things that could be going on in a 6-year-old in a dress's mind. However, queer kid stuff is on the side of this is a trans kid. Get ready for the transition. No.
But that kid's a transvestite, like wears clothes which are different than its sex.
Well, transvestitism is. I think that's the word. That's a sexual preference.
No. That's just literally the clothes thing. Transvestite.
Well, no, it's cross-dressing for the pleasure of it. It's.
You can't just aesthetically like if you're a boy, just aesthetically like a dress.
You can, but I think that's something else. I could be wrong. I'm not 100% up to date on my, LGBTQ.
That's another thing.
Yeah, I couldn't be. I'm not up to date on my definitions, but
Well, here it says, Wiki says cross-dressing has been used for purposes of disguise, which is random, like ninjas wearing dresses, and comfort and self-discovery. The self-discovery stuff, that sounds more sexuality related, but comfort could just be like, if you just like dresses.
I don't see how panties could be comfortable for a dude. Does not compute.
For a kid, a grown-ass man. I don't know.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play this video. And this video in particular, I have
Stop
a problem.
shilling.
It's not my video.
Oh, no. I was just joking. I was just playing.
Oh, like, it's not my video. I can't be shilling.
He's promoting it.
So I'm going to play this video. I'm going to tell you the problems I have with it. And you tell me what you think about it. So hold on. Here we go.
I wonder if I'll fence it like one of the chat people accused me of doing. Yay.
Wait, what they accused you of doing?
Oh, they said I'm a fence sitter. So I'm going to take a strong stance.
All right, give me a second. This, software never works when you want it to.
What kind of processor you got?
It's a really good processor. It's like
best, believe me.
8 cores or something.
8 cores. What kind of is there hyper-threading? You know what?
Yeah,
8 cores should be good enough. What kind of what kind of RAM do you got?
I think it's DDR3. This isn't necessarily my computer.
Oh, that's your problem. DDR3. You really need to upgrade to something like DDR4.
It's got 24 gigs of RAM.
24 gigs of RAM. Holy shit. Maybe. Yeah. Well, yeah. It's probably just buggy software then.
Yeah. So give me a second. I'm going to try doing it the other way. Here we go. Weird stuff. What I don't know how to do. Okay. Hold on a second, guys. You guys continue talking. I'm going to mute myself for a minute.
All right. I just now realized his avatar is Bane.
Is it?
Yeah. He's got the Bane mask, the Bane coat, and what looks like a puffy shirt.
Yeah, he had a South Park guy before, but I guess he got rid of that because there's the whole copyright freaking out going around.
Actually, that's a program that that Viacom offers. South Park up your avatar. It's along the same lines as that Powder Puff Girls thing that guys like Pornstache use.
You really don't like Michael, do you?
No. I just adore the nickname Pornstache. And that's
Yeah.
true. I mean, I just think that is just the perfect nickname for anybody rocking that mustache in the current year.
I did think that he was wearing a toga during the questions for anti-SJW's video.
Yeah. Oh my God. The first time I saw that, I'm all like, he's got the columns, he's got the toga. Stop appropriating my Roman culture.
Yeah. No, but apparently he just got out of the pool or something. That's what he said. It was a towel. I was like, I don't know. It looks like a toga.
Who the hell films a video just after they get out of the pool? I mean, is he emerging from a grotto a la Hugh Hefner? I mean,
fuck, I don't know. Well, I just filmed a video because I couldn't be fucked putting effort into it. It's just another stupid bearing video. So I just rolled out of bed and just made a video, and people giving me shit because I was just lying in bed wearing a shirt, and everyone keeps telling me I'm supposed to take my shirt off when I go to bed. So I must be fucking beta. And then fucking Michael makes a video where he takes his shirt off, and then people are tweeting at me like, that's a real man. I'm like, God, I hate internet people. Why are you so fucking stupid? God damn it.
Yeah.
They find the weirdest shit to care about. It's like,
I sleep in jeans, hoodies, socks. I mean, I will go to bed fully clothed if I feel like it. I don't.
You're a beta. You're a fucking beta.
Yeah, I don't get where that comes from. That doesn't make sense because, I mean, I've been homeless a few times in my life, so I might just be used to be sleeping in my clothes. But yeah, I have no idea where that would come from because I'm just about as alpha as it gets. I mean, all right, fine, I'm not that alpha, but I do have that A-type personality.
Yeah.
I do like being in control of most situations.
I'm getting some conflict in the chat here. Don't take your shirt off. Do a shirtless video, Tim. We know you're a beta, but never take your shirt off. So there's kind of different opinions here.
That's just
Alex Jones style, Oh fuck! Like Alex Jones made a video about Young Turks once, and he wasn't wearing a shirt, and it was just really confusing. It's like, why are you shirtless on a couch talking about the Young Turks? Like,
I think that was. Oh, all right.
This should work. Let's see.
So,
can you guys hear that?
It's okay. Welcome to Queer Kid Stuff. I'm Lindsay, and this is my best friend, Teddy. Today, we're going to talk about the B in LGBT.
Somewhere in between, we all are part of one big family.
this is so random.
Happy Queer Kid
This
Stuff.
is such an annoying intro.
You are enough.
Unless you're a kid, then it's mind blowing. Whoa.
Yeah. Apparently, someone doesn't remember the Magic School Bus.
Breaking down the letters in LGBT. You ready, Teddy?
Ready.
Okay. Today, we are talking about the second letter, B. B stands for bisexual. Bisexual is very similar to gay and lesbian, which we've already talked about. Bisexual is when a boy or a girl loves other boys or girls. Bisexual is when you love people of both genders.
Love need not apply.
That's a lot of people to love.
What does love mean?
Bisexual.
That's a lot of people to love.
And love need not apply. I mean, you could just, be adventurous.
Just be man whore.
Is awesome.
But
Being
I guess I'm a
bisexual
little
is awesome.
confused. Are people who are bisexual also gay if they are a boy in love with a boy or a girl in love with a girl? And what if a
Stupid
boy
question,
and a
Teddy.
girl love each other? Does that make them not gay?
Whoa, those are a lot of really great questions, Teddy. You're getting so good at this.
Do you guys notice how she keeps looking at some kind of script off camera? It's really annoying. I don't know. It's crazy.
Smart and or stupid Teddy. I can't tell which.
So anyway, what do you think of this? I don't
I
want
only
to play
have one question, which is what age group is this aimed at?
3 to 5.
3 to 5. So are they teaching shit about being straight to kids of that age?
No,
I mean, not that I've ever seen or am aware of.
I've never seen anything like that. No.
Because I have zero problems with the content of this, but it depends on the age group. Like, who are you? Do 3 to 5-year-olds need to be hearing about sexuality, whether it's straight, gay, or anything else? So that's
No, and
kind
they
of strange.
don't need to confused about what love is either. I mean, you're introducing more questions than you're answering.
It depends. Like, what age do you think you should have the birds and the bees chat with the kid? That's really the main concern to me. Like, when do you think you should start talking to kids about sexuality? I think 3 to 5 seems quite weird to be telling them about bisexuality when I don't know if that's like the age that you explain this kind of shit to kids. Is it? I mean, yeah, it's weird.
Where's the stuff on the T? Where's the T stuff? Because that was the stuff I had a problem with. I have no problem teaching. I mean, if the kids have gotten the birds and the bees talk, I have no problem with teaching them of the LGBT, the definitions, because once you're aware of sexuality, you should probably be made aware of the various preferences. However, my problem was the 6-year-old transsexuals. That was my problem.
Well, it depends. Are they just teaching you about what it is, or do you think it's some kind of indoctrination scheme? Because if they're just giving them the information, I see absolutely nothing wrong with that. This is what trans is.
It's making kids worry about other people's sexuality more, so that, like, even Teddy has to ask Lindsay at some point. He says, "Do you identify as a boy or a girl," or something like that. So, you know what I mean? There's, it's confusing them.
But where's the line for you between educating kids and indoctrinating them? Because I think if you're just explaining, like, there are bisexual people and they're at the right age to learn about sexuality, I just can't see any issue.
But they're not at the right age.
Right. Yeah.
Not
so that's
demographic.
Pretty fine.
Well, that was my point. Have they had the birds and the bees talk with mom and dad? Because if they have, I see absolutely nothing wrong with giving them the definitions, because information is rarely ever a bad thing.
Well, and if there are kids at school who a boy behaving like a girl and a girl behaving like a boy, you would at least want the kids to have some understanding of why that might be happening. But it really depends how you explain it to them, doesn't it? If you explain it to them in a fair-minded, rational way, so the kids are like, oh, maybe I shouldn't bully that person mercilessly. And again, maybe sometimes it's hard to stop kids from doing that anyways, but I think it's fine giving them information, but that video seems a little strange. But why did you say you were most worried about the T part? Do you feel like they're going to try to make kids be trans somehow?
Well, I think it would cause an influx of the Tumblr genders, especially when you're advocating for stuff like 6-year-old trans kids, because dress need not doth not make a trans person.
But are we talking about, like, whether this child is exhibiting some behavior over which they appear to have had no choice and it's just sort of naturally how they're behaving, or if they've somehow been led by this path by some kind of liberal indoctrination? Isn't there a difference there? Because if it's like something that is just naturally occurring in the child, you would want to prevent them from being mercilessly outcast or bullied, or having terrible things happen to them. I'm not talking about transitioning, by the way, because it's a whole other conversation.
You see, but that's another one of those razor thin lines. Here, I'm just going to stop what I'm working on because I need all my brain power for this. The thing is one may not know if a child is trans or if it's just some 6-year-old boy with a flight of fancy for Princess Peach. And telling and telling this 6-year-old child that they are in fact, suffering from a mental illness of dysmorphia and will need to transition or need special treatment because of a mental illness, when all they are is just pretending to be rescued by Mario, which, I mean, any number of things could be going on. To lay down a blanket term of trans on 6-year-old boys in dresses is a little heavy-handed and a little too far for my taste.
But that's why I wouldn't advocate just labeling the child, but I would advocate educating them just on information. Just say like
all the
what's
education.
happening. Yeah.
I am a big fan of all the education.
Right,
but I think kids also need time to be comfortable in their own skin, and they need time to figure out whether this is actually them, because that could take a while for them to be really sure. Right.
I mean, but I don't think they should be taught about that at such an early age.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I agree. It's not really sane, or it's probably not good policy to be like, oh, you're 6 and you're trans, whatever. Right. Because it doesn't really mean much to that kid. They're only 6.
Right. They have no idea what sexuality is.
Yeah, but I would say like, oh, there is such a thing as trans, and it's this. And not tell them like you are this, but just be like, this is some information about what some people go through.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, all the education. And again, I'm also now, of course, this is solely on the shoulders of the parents. But if you feel that your child is not ready for this, if you've already had the conversation with your kids and still feel that maybe they don't have the ability to process trans or even bisexuals, then I don't think that they should be shown this again on completely on the shoulders of the parents. And of course, parents should be watching what their kids are doing online anyway. But
well, it also could depend on the child. Like for some, who knows? There could be children for whom this is a very intense and persistent issue that won't go away, and then there's others for whom it's just a bit of a fad. So, if it's a persistent issue in your child's life that is not going away, then someone has to address it.
I don't think you're old enough to be transsexual until you've hit puberty. That's what I believe.
Right, but then we get the whole thing of like, they talk about hormone blockers and
that's some stuff. Child abuse. That is child abuse.
Really is.
I've heard it's reversible though. That's what I've read or been told.
Well, here's the thing about here's the thing about hormone blockers. I think the idea of reversible means that they take more testosterone later in life. However, the testosterone you get when you hit puberty. Well, sorry, Tim. The testosterone that us real men get when we hit puberty.
My God.
Yeah, no, just a
sick burn.
It's war.
Yeah, but
it's war.
But anyway, that testosterone that we get when we hit puberty, that is instrumental to our development as human beings, not as men or not as women. I mean, that rush of hormones may result into some weird, angry, or awkward teenagers, but it's very instrumental in our growth as people. And the hormone blockers effectively stop that very key point in a human being's life.
Well, one difficulty of this conversation though is, I mean, I all three of us are like cis dudes, right? We're all comfortable in our own skin. It's not something that we've like experienced, so I can't speak for like experiences that I've never had. Like I don't know what it's like to be going through that shit, to be honest, because I've never been through it.
We shouldn't be changing general education for what is it, 0.3% of the population?
I'm just saying, like, if one of us had gone through this growing up, I'm pretty sure that our point of view would be completely different, wouldn't it? Would be like, no, this is a very real and serious thing, and like some people who have been through this, I think, do become advocates for like the hormones or whatever. It's difficult for me to do because it's hard for me to relate to on a personal level because it's just not something that I've been through. But I could picture it being such an intense thing in someone's life to be going through that, especially in your teenage years. You're going through puberty. Like, how the fuck are you supposed to deal with that? Like, that sounds insane to me. you know, I don't think they do it like people do it out of a laugh or whatever. I think it's something that so negatively impacts their life. It's like so many. I don't think people would really want to do that out of a choice.
Well, I think.
You know?
Well, I also think one of the big problems was. I don't know if either of you are familiar with the lesbian couple who have the son who wants to be a girl who now goes by Tammy.
No, I don't
problem.
think
I'll see if I can find that news story. This is the definition of child abuse. I mean, this is pure child abuse.
Tammy Baldwin? No, that's a politician. I was just Googling.
One second.
Loser, Tim. Jeez.
Well, I mean, I don't have kids, but I would never want my child to feel ashamed of who they are. But at the same time, it's like also there's a fear of parents being too permissive. So there is definitely a middle ground. So if you want, if you want to call me a fence sitter, I kind of am a little bit, but I feel like eventually, I mean, if something was so important to my child, eventually I'd have to cave. I'd just be like, all right, this is obviously so important to you.
All right, so if you wouldn't mind presenting me. All right, this is from Mr. Conservative, so it's obviously going to be one-sided. But the point is not the one-sidedness of the article. The point is just what these two parents, a lesbian couple gives son hormone blockers, and they say that the child is transgender. That's the boy, and that's the parents. Yeah, I don't think this is right. The idea is that he's an 11-year-old boy who obviously, being raised by women, had a lot of confusing ideas about himself growing up, and I assume to want to fit in with his lesbian parents probably adopted a more feminine nature, and now they are issuing him hormone blockers so that he can transition when he's old enough. Yeah, I don't think I've seen probably about 10 pictures of this kid, not just from Mr. Conservative, obviously, but I don't think I've ever seen this kid smile.
Social services needs to be called on these bitches.
But if you scroll down, it says that at the age of 8, the kid tried to like self-mutilate or something.
Yeah, that is a serious.
Well, if you're being fed dangerous ideas, you're going to do dangerous things.
Now, let's give these lesbian parents the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say that it was that it wasn't something they forced on him. But again, this goes back to what what I was saying earlier about flights of fancy. And of course, if he was 8 years old and attempted to self-mutilate, I mean, let's say that it was a different part of the body. Let's say it was his arm. Let's say he was 8 years old and cut his wrists. Does that mean that, when he's, 11 years old, they need to like sign him up for an amputation? This is all very, 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 very razor thin, like line.
Yeah, it's really
dangerous thinking. And to be this 11-year-old boy, to be in this environment where these parents are basically using him as a crusade, because look, just I mean, here, I'll find a not so biased article. Let's see. Here we go. Equality matters. That sounds like a campaign for a full LGBT community. All right, so here.
Hold on. Let me point this out real quick. We are not entirely sure if gender dysphoria should be calculated or considered a mental illness at this point. But just like depression is a mental illness, if a 8-year-old is trying to slit their wrists to kill themselves, should we then just go, okay, well, if that's what you want, then we'll do that? Like, is that...
So
that seems like a false analogy, because
and this entire article
being a different gender.
And this entire article seems to be saying that it doesn't seem to have anything going on about
Any-
the boy. This just seems to be saying just over and over again that same-sex parents aren't to blame for this. Like we know there are decent lesbian parents out there. This is a thing. Obviously, we don't
But the
need
tricky
your.
thing is about this is we don't have an insight into their personal life or like what things have been like for them through the years. So we have no idea how much is like just the parents doing things or how much of it is the child basically forcing the parents to do things. Like, we don't know. So that's a bit difficult, I think. But it did say in that article that at the age of 3, the child expressed wanting to be a girl or some shit. I do think that's too young to really take that seriously. I would just say like, oh, okay, that's interesting. All right then. And then just sort of move on. And then if it was persistent, though, I mean, even to the point of the child self-mutilating, then you're stuck with a difficult choice. And I mean, to be honest, I don't know what exactly the right thing to do here is. I mean, what do you think is the right thing? I mean, that's a difficult
Sorry, an
situation.
ad started playing, and I missed a big chunk of that. I couldn't get it to stop in time.
I was going to say, what do you think the right thing here is? Because we don't know if it's the parents pushing an agenda or if it's just so important to the child that their hand is forced, you know?
Well,
Nothing like that should be hung on a child.
Yeah, but you don't want your kid to get so torn out of shape over this that they do something horrible to themselves, do you? And because then you've lost your child. So if it's that serious, then what the fuck do you do? Like, what if one day I don't know, you can fucking come home and they're hanging from the ceiling because they couldn't deal with going through this shit. Then what do you say? You're just like, oops, fuck. Now my kid's dead or something, you know?
I think that therapy should be provided. I think that they should make sure that this is
therapy therapy and psychoanalysis
right.
psychoanalysis are two different things. I would like some research done into his/hers brain before it hasn't even reached puberty yet. That's the thing. Hasn't even reached a point where this should be a topic of concern.
And can't reach puberty now because he's on medication.
Yeah.
But I mean, you do want to try, like, assuming you love your kid, you do want to do what's best for them, you know, and that I don't know, could lead to difficult choices. I don't know the exact particulars of these people's lives, you know. I don't know if they're psychos or if this is just something that they have to deal with, which is extremely difficult to deal with, you know. So we'd be making some assumptions about what the fuck's actually. I feel like articles like that are not that useful because they're not really like exploring what's actually going on.
Yeah, because all the articles seem to be pushing an agenda. That's what I was getting from the articles as I was reading them. The right-leaning ones saying outright this is child abuse. The left-leaning ones saying this is such a great big step for lesbians and trans, and there was no like data, and I despise lack of data. Teal Deer is my favorite YouTuber, and I despise lack of data. Citation needed is my Twitter banner for a reason. I need data, and there was none of it floating around in any of those articles. It just always seemed to be somebody pushing an agenda.
You can have a gut reaction and be like, this is mental illness and the child or whatever, and it's fucking stupid lesbians and whatever. But I mean, it's not a problem that's going away. It's a persistent problem. That's why people always talk about it, you know, because it doesn't go away. It just keeps coming back because there's some problems that you didn't choose to be problems. They just show up, and then you have to deal with it. You have to figure out a way of actually negotiating this.
But that is not the way that I would be dealing with it. Giving life-changing medication to a child who isn't even old enough to buy a mature video game. Let alone make a decision that could affect them for the rest of their lives. It's just not right.
Right. No, I agree. Because, like, you know, that fucking the queer kids thing just seems too young, I think. and it
Yeah.
seems like too broad because you don't know, like children are going to have specific needs for their learning.
Right.
And
Right.
it's just saying like all 3 to 5 year olds should be learning about all this shit right now, and I don't know how they made that estimation.
Yeah. And again, me being a member of the Libertarian Right, I believe that falls on the shoulders of the parents. And
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
But-
and also, who knows what their children are ready or not ready for better than the parents? So,
Right.
yeah, I would like to see that. Hilariously enough, I would like to see the queer kid stuff age restricted, so that a kid has to go, "Mom, I want to watch this," and they can make that decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah.
You know, but then again, I mean, there's so much other content on YouTube and the internet that, you know, should be, because like, all right, say like some kid wants to watch Thunderfoot or something. I mean, should they be allowed to watch that? I mean, I don't know if they'd be wanting to. You know, that's the thing, is I just don't know if that's something that kids really would want to watch naturally. They'd probably rather be watching Finding Nemo or something, you know.
It's hard to tell anything about the analytics either, because, you know, for all we know, every single person who's watched queer kid stuff were adults. I mean, we don't know if there were any actual children who have seen this yet.
Maybe there's some parents who are like, "Hey, kids."
Yeah, I was just about to say the exact same thing. I have a feeling there was about 3 or 4 people who are all like, "Oh my god, this is perfect! I must show my kids this."
Right.
Yeah, but they're going to raise their kids in a very hippy-dippy liberal way that you might hate regardless. And if you're a libertarian, don't you have to be like, that's fine? Or do you have to take, if they want to raise their kids like
they can raise their
dirty
kids how
hippies?
they want.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as a libertarian, the idea is government involvement out. I myself, personally, morally, am quite conservative. I do believe people should have the freedom to do what they want, but in my perfect world, they would want to be a little bit more conservative than that.
Right, definitely. I'm the same way, actually. We are.
I'm going to be a terrible liberal parent, but I also know that I will have like limits. Like there will be times when I'll be like, no, you can't do that. Yeah, like I'm not going to be ridiculous. Yeah.
Right.
Like, fuck. I mean, God, I hope my kid doesn't. Like, this is a really like selfish thing to say, but I hope my kid isn't trans, because it'll be so hard to actually like navigate.
Well, the odds
manual about what to do.
The odds are that will not be a thing, because it's only like something like 0.3% of the population who turns out being trans, but we're running into more trans trenders.
Brad's never been to Tumblr.
I'm saying we're running
But
into
no,
more.
like this person says, who wants the kid to suffer from gender dysphoria. It's not about.
Let me say, we're running into more trans trenders than we are actual transgenders, and that's a scary thought. We need to make sure that we're not promoting, like you said, flights of fancy, or how I would say delusions. We need to make sure we're not doing that.
I don't see it as like useful to be like it's delusion or whatever. Unless you're talking about like how the parent actually approaches it, but that was the only reason why I said I'd be worried about my kids being trans. Like it would have nothing to do with like how much I loved my kid, and I would just want to do the best for them.
Right.
And it would be difficult to know what the best thing to do would be.
Right.
You know, and that would be tough to deal with, you know? So hopefully I just have some fucking privileged cis whatever. I don't give a shit.
Some straight cis white male.
Yeah. Hopefully I have a straight cis white male as a kid.
Oh, we could all hope.
Not in that way.
All right, guys. We're out of
purity. No. No, just because but then there's all kinds of other problems. So that would just
Hey,
fuck.
We're out of time. Stop talking. We're out of time.
Goddamn.
It's been 2 hours, guys.
Holy shit!
I know, right? It just flew by. So we got to do this again sometime. But for now,
Definitely had a ball.
stuff to do. Hell yeah. For now, I have New Year's Eve stuff to do. Thank you guys for joining me. You viewers for watching. You guys have a great New Year. All right.
Happy New Year, all.
Happy New Year.
Bye, guys.